what an incredible climb he did. I mean, fastest climb by 4 or 5 minutes ever, 3 weeks into a Grand Tour. Tactics to perfection. It was just, and one of the most exciting stages I think any of us watched in a Grand Tour in a long time. And this is what cycling's all about. Like, bring it down to the wire, the last epic stage, and you see big differences in the GC. It couldn't have been a more exciting Giro, and the way it ended was super, super fun to watch.
Everybody, welcome back to The Move. I'm Spencer Martin. I'm here with Johan Bruyneel and George Hincapie to break down exactly how Simon Yates won the Giro d'Italia, as well as a few other odds and ends that happened throughout the stage throughout the race. As we look back on it, the final GC, Simon Yates wins his second Grand Tour. Seb comes back 7 years after collapsing in the Maglia Rosa to win the Giro d'Italia, with Isaac Del Toro, the young 21-year-old Mexican, in second, 346 back, and Richard Carapaz in third overall. Canadian Derchi in fourth. Don't forget about him. But before we get into these guys' take on how this happened, let's take a quick break to hear from our partners. Everybody, this episode is brought to you by Tushy. What if I told you the most luxurious seat in your house to listen to podcasts might actually be your toilet? Well, I've been using the Tushy Cloud Plus bidet, and it's completely changed the game. Installation took me less than 10 minutes, and I can't do anything. No plumber, no drama, no additional plumbing, and it instantly upgraded the entire vibe of my bathroom. The design is sleek, the seat is heated, and the warm water spray way more effective. And I'm way more comfortable than I was when I just used toilet paper. Honestly, it feels cleaner, faster, and better for my skin. Their new Cloud Plus model even deodorizes the air the moment you sit down, which is a level of luxury I did not know I needed, but it's one your roommates may appreciate. Tushy's lineup includes options for everyone, like the Aura, which opens automatically when you walk into the room. I love that. And every model uses fresh water, no harsh chemicals, to clean you more thoroughly than TP, while cutting down on your usage of paper products by more than 80%. That's good for your budget and the environment and your plumbing. If you want to protect your plumbing, if you're a homeowner, you got to get a Tushy. And if you're a landlord, get one for your tenants. You don't want them putting those wipes in there. They clog up the pipes. It's a big problem. Get a Tushy now to keep this from happening. And if you are a listener of the show, you're lucky because you get 10% off your first bidet order when you use code THEMOVE10 at checkout. That's 10% off your first bidet order at hellotushy.com with promo code TheMove10. Again, hellotushy.com with code TheMove10. Do it right now. Save those pipes today. Hey everybody, this episode is brought to you by Saily. When I'm traveling abroad, whether for bike races, or just personal reasons, I need to use a lot of data. If I'm streaming a race, and if you're at a race, the odd thing is you can't really see it, so you have to watch it on your phone. If you're using those roaming plans on your US providers, you're going to get hit with crazy fees. That's why I've started using Saily. And honestly, it's been a game changer. What is Saily? It's a mobile eSIM app that lets you grab a local data plan in over 150 countries right from your phone. You don't have to go in anywhere. You do not have to go into a French cell phone store and explain in your terrible French what you need. It's not easy to do that. But with Saily, you can have a local plan from your own phone. You don't even have to talk to anybody. And when you're on the move as much as I am, especially covering races where I need a ton of data to upload, do this podcast sometimes, and stay in touch with your team, you cannot afford to lose connection. And with Saily, I have not. It's fast, affordable, and reliable, and built by the same people behind NordVPN, who we love at this podcast. So you know it's secure. Whether you're following a Grand Tour or on your own adventure, ditch the roaming drama and check out Saily. It's simple, it works, and it makes travel way smoother. I cannot explain how much easier this is. You basically just have a local phone plan from the comfort of your own phone. It's incredible. You get it for a fraction of the price than if you buy it from your provider in the US. Download the Saily app or head to saily.com/themove. That's Saily, SAILY.com/themove, and use code THEMOVE at checkout to save 15% off your next data plan. Again, saily.com/themove for 15% off. Everybody, this episode is brought to you by Peak Pour Teas. As a cyclist, I've learned the hard way, energy, endurance, and digestion can make or break my performance. as we saw at this Giro, if you were not able to fuel enough in these hard mountain stages, you did not stand a chance. But a big problem of fueling is you might get an upset stomach. And that's where Peak Pour Teas can be really helpful. Their Pour Tea bundle is a performance duo. They have fermented green and black teas designed to reset your gut, boost your metabolism, and deliver long-lasting clean energy. Now I start every big ride with a green pour. It gives me calm, focused energy without the jitters or crashes I used to get from too much coffee. I love drinking too much coffee, and Peak has helped me break that habit. And after a ride, Black Pour is my recovery secret. It helps reduce bloating, supports digestion, and leaves me feeling light and ready to go again. And what sets it apart? It's wild harvested from 250-year-old trees, toxin screened and made with cold extraction technology, which means you can have it in hot or cold water. You can have their morning energy bundle right when you wake up. Just put it in your cold water, your first glass of water when you wake up, and you're good to go. For a limited time, you can get 20% off for life, plus a free starter kit, which includes a rechargeable frother and glass beaker when you grab the Pour bundle with our link, peaklife.com/themove, and Peak's 90-day money-back guarantee. With that, you've got nothing to lose. Try it now at peaklife.com/themove to feel the difference on your next ride. That's Peak, PIQUE, life.com/themove for 20% off for life. All right, George and Johan, I think the big question we want to start with, stage 20 of this race, it was kind of a slow simmer up to that point. We knew the Finestre would be important. I didn't quite see this coming with Richard Carapaz having his EF team blow it up about, let's say, 50 meters into the climb, into a 18-kilometer long climb at 9% average. He goes on to put about a minute and a half into Carapaz and Del Toro on the climb, and then extends his lead over the top with Wout van Aert waiting for him on the other side to win the overall by, I would take, a bigger margin than probably the margin was in reality because they sat up behind. But Johan, just up top, I mean, what happened here? I have been thinking about this for days, and I can't fully wrap my head around how Del Toro and Carapaz let this happen.
I mean, it's there's different ways to look at it. I think first and foremost, I think we have to acknowledge that Simon Yates is a high quality rider, won the Vuelta. It's been a lot of years ago, yes, but he's if you look at his build up through the season, they always say, well, the Grand Tour is the art of being good in a Grand Tour is getting in good form on day one and keeping that form. So basically everything you've done before the 3 weeks, it doesn't count because it's supposedly wasted energy. And if you look actually at Simon Yates, his season right now, and I have it here in front of me, he did 2 races this year. He did Tirreno Adriatico and Catalunya. He finished 14th in the GC in Tirreno and 9th in Catalunya. Would say moderate for a rider like him. Before this Giro, not a single top 5 place. He got his first top 5 of the season in stage 9. And this was the gravel stage. Other than that, if you look at his results during the Giro, not a single stage win, and just 2 other top 5s, a 4th place and a 3rd place. And other than that, he was just always there, never lost too much time. He lost a little bit of time here and there, but he was just constantly there, very regular. And that's actually the ideal formula to win a Grand Tour, because at the end of the 3 weeks, it's the guy who has mathematically the least time. But in stage 20, in my opinion, because there's theories that say, they had it all figured out. They were waiting. I think that's not the case. I think they started this stage with a plan, saying, okay, we're going to have Wout van Aert up front, which was great. The way I saw Simon Yates ride on Colle di Finestre, I think he started very cautiously based on what he had been feeling in the former stages. And he started to feel better. He grew on the Colle del Finestre. He got better and better and the second part he was flying because he was ahead and he started to feel great. But initially, if you see what happens, Carapaz and EF blow it up, which I think it was a mistake on a 1 hour climb. But and Yates didn't react, maybe because he didn't have the legs and also because he had doubts, and he got more and more and more confident. And you could see a change in his demeanor, a change in his style, a change in the way he was positioned on the bike. The further we got up the climb, he was getting more and more confident. By the end, he was flying up that thing. And I think that's the first thing. Carapaz and Del Toro encountered an extremely good Simon Yates on a great day, number one. Number two, I think they underestimated him. They didn't think that he was going to be one of the big rivals based on the fact that he had been losing little bits of time here and there. Simon Yates at no time in this Giro had been hurting Del Toro or Carapaz. And I think that's the first thing we saw. That's what happened. Then the other things are circumstances which were in the favor of Simon Yates. But I think we have to highlight the amazing performance of Simon Yates on Colle de Finestre. I think that's the key to his success. I don't know what you think, George.
Yeah, well, I mean, for last time he went up that, I think it was a colossal blow up. I think he lost over 30 minutes to Chris Froome that stage. So he probably has been thinking about that stage. What was that, 7 years ago? Pretty much.
Yeah, 7 years ago. Yeah.
Every day this year, trying to, he had an axe to grind with the stage, trying to prove that he can make a difference on this particular stage. And like we mentioned last week, I mean, he was just quietly moving up the standings. He races for a very experienced Grand Tour winning team. And like you said, Johan, EF came into that climb like they were going into a 1 kilometer climb, like in the classics. This was the classics lead out. I mean, the best climbers on EF education, amazing world-class climbers, couldn't even hold a wheel for 200 meters. And they basically let him out for definitely less than a kilometer. I want to say maybe 500 meters total. That is going to put so much lactic acid in your legs. I don't care who you are, how good you are. This is going to affect you in an hour-long climb. Any day, anytime, any rider in the world. I think they just went way too hard at the bottom. Of course, they wanted to go all in, but look, I was shocked to see how fast they were going. And I just couldn't imagine them or him being able to recover, even though he did a great climb. But Simon Yates just rode his tempo, caught back up to them. And I think as soon as he caught them, he can probably, a rider at that level, at that stage of a Grand Tour, can sense the rivals, and you can smell blood in the legs, so to speak, and took great advantage of it. And what an incredible climb he did. I mean, fastest climb by 4 or 5 minutes ever, 3 weeks into a Grand Tour. Tactics to perfection. It was just and one of the most exciting stages I think any of us watched in a Grand Tour in a long time. And this is what cycling is all about. Like, bring it down to the wire, the last epic stage, and you see big differences in the GC. It couldn't have been a more exciting Giro, and the way it ended was super, super fun to watch.
Yeah, I think though, however, so let's not forget, for starters, the reason why Simon Yates won this Giro is because he was very strong on the hardest climb of the race. That's not even a discussion. Now, you could also say, well, what did Del Toro and Carapaz do? As I said, I think they underestimated Yates, first of all. I think both of them made mistakes. Carapaz by going early on full gas and straight away trying to drop Del Toro. I think he was convinced he was going to drop Del Toro. And Del Toro, on the other hand, he had one mission in his mind: I cannot get dropped from Carapaz.
Yeah,
and I've seen a lot of criticism towards Del Toro and UAE, saying that he should have pulled because he was the leader. I can understand that kind of comment in the last part, in the last third of the Colle de Finestre, when Yates had like 40 seconds to a minute. Then Del Toro, he should have started to pull. I think he was scared of Carapaz, and rightfully so. And I can understand, because I don't know what you think about this. If you put yourself in Del Toro's position. You know, he wants to hang on, and he knows that Carapaz will do everything he can to try to drop you. Del Toro was able to respond to all the attacks, and he rode quite smart. He came back always progressively. He didn't react straight away. It was very smart. Once he sees that Simon Yates is up the road, and he's going a lot faster than they think, if Del Toro starts to pace, he should have paced, but he should have paced with something in reserve, because he knows that as soon as he paces, he's going to have Carapaz attacking him. So it's understandable that you're kind of hesitant, right?
But Johan, would he really attack him with Yates like that far up the road? Because then Carapaz is stuck in between the two of them?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Like with, let's say Del Toro's polling, Yates is in the GC lead, the virtual lead. Everyone's saying, oh, Carapaz would have attacked him, but where does Carapaz go exactly if he attacks on the Finestre?
Tries to bridge up to Yates.
but there's no, I mean, maybe he thinks he could. There's no way he's bridging.
I think Carapaz, in my opinion, first of all, underestimated Yates and overestimated himself. Because nobody's going to, both Carapaz and Del Toro on the Colle di Finestre, they were also on the limit. They couldn't go any faster. My impression is, George, I mean, and I would like to have your opinion on this. And I said this on our podcast, on our last podcast. I have the impression that Carapaz, as soon as he saw and realized that he was not going to be able to drop Del Toro, that there was a switch in Carapaz's mentality, and his only goal was to make Del Toro lose the Giro. What do you think about this?
I mean, yeah, I didn't quite understand. I feel like, yes, you're a young rider, 21 years old, but being in the pink jersey, it's your responsibility to fight for the win. No matter who's behind you, who's in front of you, you have to set a tempo, and you have to, like you said, keep it in reserve. And in case Carapaz attacks you, but it's your responsibility. I don't care what the directors are saying. You're in the pink jersey of the Giro d'Italia. You need to ride a tempo. Not only that, but once you get over the climb on the downhill, is like, go all in. And I don't see why Carapaz didn't go all in either, because they can at least, obviously not with Wout van Aert in the front, but at least keep it to in a reasonable range where maybe some of their teammates come back and they go to the front. They just sat there and they gave up another 4 minutes. Race over.
Well, that was really negative racing. From that moment, that's where I really saw, okay, Carapaz really doesn't want Del Toro to win this Giro. He knew he was not going to win himself.
Yeah.
And then that was actually shocking. You have the standoff between those two guys. Then you have Yates in the meantime catching up to Wout. Wout, I have a stat here also on Wout. He did the moment Yates caught Wout van Aert until the moment he dropped him off was almost 13 minutes.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
450 watts. Imagine a guy, Wout van Aert, pulling 450 watts. Yates is in an armchair. He's like, okay, I'm just gonna sit here. Didn't look like he was comfortable. So, but imagine. In those 12 minutes, they took 3 minutes.
Yeah,
that was crazy.
It's crazy, and and it's not like Wout got to go easy up the Finestre. He had to go hard.
I calculated his watts at 400 watts for an hour and 7 minutes.
Yeah,
that's not easy to do, and then turn around and do that pole.
Not at all. And
I think there, if we can say, okay, Carapaz made mistakes, Del Toro made mistakes. In my opinion, the biggest mistake is, when you're in a situation that you try to control the controllables, right? There's things that are going to happen in the race that you have no control over. I can understand, for example, that UAE and EF, okay, they missed the break. It's a mistake, but it can happen. You don't know how your riders are going to react.
Can I comment on that, Johan?
Yeah, sure.
Because I've read a lot of comments from all these so-called cycling experts. A lot of them are your good friends, Johan, or maybe not. But they're questioning why. How could UAE let Wout van Aert go up the road? Have you ever done a Grand Tour? Have you ever been 3
George,
weeks into a Grand Tour? Have you ever been 3 weeks into a Grand Tour when a guy like Wout van Aert is on the up and can do? Let me give you another stat. 520 watts for 10 minutes. And it can draw pretty much anybody in the world up climbs like the Quaremont, the Pottersburg. His 1, 2, 3, 5 minute power is better than anybody. Try to go into a breakaway with him when you've been pulling in the front for 3 weeks and he wants to get away. I remember many times guys like Vinokurov, like those were our worst nightmares because when those guys wanted to go on the break, it didn't matter how much we stuck. The only thing we can do is try to limit the damage and keep them close. But you've been pulling on the front for 3 weeks and you just say you made a tactical error because you're not going with Wout van Aert, one of the guys with the best 5-10 minute power in the world.
Yeah.
That's just, you just can't go. I'm sure they wanted somebody there, but they probably just missed it.
That's true. And I completely agree with that statement. That's the way it is, George. Is, people started, they try to find certain sophisticated explanations. Yeah. It's not that difficult. The guys are fucked. When after 3 weeks and a guy like Wout van Aert is unique, the proof he has improved tremendously during these 3 weeks.
Yes.
And he's unique. I think the only mistake that was avoidable that they made, mostly UAE and also EF, because they had the same interest. When a guy like, you miss the break because you can't, because you don't pay attention, whatever, done, the break goes 30
I think
riders.
You can't.
Okay, whatever. Yeah. 30 riders, it's a lot, right? 30 riders are going to take a lot of time.
Yeah.
But if you see that Wout van Aert is in there and you know that there's a climb that the hardest climb of the Giro, you want to play safe. You cannot let Wout van Aert have 10 minutes. Start the climb with 10 minutes. If UAE and EF together with 2 or 3 riders set a tempo and keep the break around 5-6 minutes, Wout van Aert does not make it over the top with the best climbers of the Giro. And it's a very different game. That's the biggest mistake, that they let them 10 minutes.
I agree, because, a lot of people don't understand the art of the breakaway. Yes, in a breakaway of 30 guys, 60, 70, 80, sometimes more % of that breakaway might have gotten lucky. They might have rolled off the front, somebody opens the gap, no big deal. Nobody's letting Wout van Aert roll off the front. He's not getting lucky. He's so good that he goes when there was 100 attacks and everybody's in the triple red zone and they can't go anymore. He's that good. He goes, see you in the douches. I'm going right now. Those guys like that can make a breakaway at the end of a Grand Tour pretty much anytime they want. And that's a breakaway. He was in any breakaway he wanted in the last week.
Yeah.
And like you said, Johan, the only thing they could have done was limited the damage once he got up the road.
Yeah, well, that's the biggest mistake from both of the teams, and those are mistakes that should be, that should come from the car. These kind of instructions, okay, guys, okay, it's not good, the situation. Let's try to improve it, and that's where I see that they underestimated Yates, because they were sure that Yates was not going to drop them.
Yeah,
because if Yates doesn't drop them, it doesn't matter if Van Aert is in front.
Exactly,
he's going to pull. So. That's one thing. And then, George, I would like to know what you think about this. I have a theory. It's maybe, it's just my theory, right? You're probably not going to like it. But so we said, okay, Carapaz races from a certain moment to make Del Toro lose. Could it be, for example, the war of South American egos? Carapaz is an established rider, and the young upcoming guy, young Mexican, comes and he says, okay, I'm the guy here. It's always happened. Like, the young guys had to fight against the older generation to prove it. That's one possibility. That's why I think Carapaz may have at a certain moment decided, if I can't win, you young Mexican, you're not winning this thing. Okay, that's okay. Another possibility is Carapaz rides for a team with he wrote negatively, right? He writes for a team with a known, how would I say, famous twisted mentality. Could it be that there was an instruction from the team to say, okay, we can't win, but this guy can also not win? And you know what I say that, George? Because Carapaz rides for EF, right? Mm-hmm. Long time ago, if my memory is correct, in 2009, there was an American rider in the Tour de France on his way to yellow. The yellow jersey was part of a breakaway. This American rider is one of the three guys here on the screen. It's not you and I, Spencer. And
riding for an American team.
Riding for an American team. Yeah. So this American rider was on his way to yellow jersey, part of a breakaway. I looked it up. It was stage 14 from Colmar to Besançon.
Next door to my wife's hometown, by the way.
Yeah. Dijon, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So you were virtually in the lead at some point. And then all of a sudden, for no reason, no explainable reason, another American team, Garmin Slipstream, same team, exactly same team as EF, starts to pull full gas with the only objective to have that other American rider not take the yellow jersey. So I'm thinking...
You did surprise me with this story.
I'm thinking, could it be that we are still having the same kind of twisted mentality? It's maybe far-fetched, but something made me think, hey, there might be something going on here. What do you think, George?
The first part of the story is 100% correct. Even though nobody will ever admit to that, I did get chased down because I was also an American, and they did not want an American on a rival team to take away attention or potential new sponsorship. That was messed up. I'm still pissed off about it. But I don't think in this situation that was the case. I actually think, look, Carapaz has won Grand Tours before. He's been there, done that. For him, getting second or third place is it's the same thing. It's not a big difference. And I think it was Isaac Del Toro and UAE's responsibility to go all in to protect the lead at all costs, whether he's going to lose it or not. I mean, second or third place is no different, even for Isaac. So it was his responsibility to chase it down. I don't think that happened, but it's definitely an interesting theory.
Yeah. Well, sorry, Spencer. It's true. If you look at the individuals, right? Isaac Del Toro is young. He was in the lead. He was about to win the Giro. Carapaz has won the Giro already. Yeah. It changes, however, if you look at it from a team perspective. UAE has won many Grand Tours. EF, if I'm not mistaken, has won one Grand Tour.
The Giro.
In their history.
Yeah.
They could have used the Grand Tour.
Yeah.
So, I think the roles are inversed there if you look at it from a team perspective.
Well, yeah, it's interesting for sure.
I think we should add context that George's team, HTC, had the best sprinter in the world at the time. And EF, then Garmin, Chipotle, or whatever they were, had Tyler Farrar. I mean, there was like super intense sprint rivalry as well. I don't know if there's a big rivalry between EF and... If there's a rival between EF and UAE, it's one-sided, and UAE is not paying attention to that.
The rivalry was more between sponsorship, support, and search, because at the time there was kind of like they were just trying to put the teams together, get a big corporate sponsor in. Not so much the sprinter. I mean, at the time Cavendish was winning pretty much everything he wanted to win. Although Tyler was the most amazing, underrated U.S. sprinter in the history of cycling. Love the guy, incredible sprinter, but at the time, Cavendish was winning 4 to 6 stages a tour.
Yeah. And I checked, George, to add to the story, in that break that you were in on the stage to Besançon, Garmin Slipstream had a rider in the break with you.
I don't remember that.
Who finished fourth? Martijn Maaskant. I did my homework, George.
Right.
I did my homework.
Yeah.
And so, there was absolutely there was nobody in dangerous for GC. No, and they had a rider in the break who finished fourth, who could have won the stage. So
I think they said they wanted to stay in the front for wind.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
No.
It was like, man. I think, Spencer, we probably need to cut to one of our partner breaks, but I got another story. See if Johan remembers it.
Before we go to an ad break, George, you just mentioned, because I'll forget to mention this after the ad break, Del Toro, his responsibility to chase it down. Like, where's the meltdown there? Like, I don't fully understand. Was he not told that by the team? Are we just seeing a mistake of why maybe it's hard for 21-year-olds to lead teams?
I don't know. I don't have the answer. I mean, I think all of us were in shock just watching the whole race unfold in front of our eyes, going, what is happening here? Like, pink jersey needs to ride. It doesn't matter who's behind, who's in front, who might be attacking you. Like, it's your responsibility. You got to ride.
George, I think one of the things that in that stage was the fear of everybody, all the riders and all the teams, of that monster of a climb of Colle di Finestre.
Yeah.
It's an unbelievable climb. You don't know how you're going to be.
And let's not forget a very important piece to this whole outcome of what happened in the Giro, and which could potentially even make the relationship worse between Ayuso and Del Toro. Ayuso went home because he had a bee sting. Imagine a guy like Ayuso with Del Toro on the last day, where this is a completely different story. We're talking about a different winner here. So he just basically didn't really care that his teammate was in the jersey, probably preferred just to go home and recover. He could have easily recovered, spent a couple of days in the gruppetto and been the pivotal player on that stage.
Yeah. Well, we don't know. I don't know how bad the bee sting was. But you're right, George. If you're in the lead, if you have a teammate in the lead in a Grand Tour, you go home when they cut the leg off. Other than that, you don't go home. You just stay there and say, okay, I'm going to try to hang in there, and who knows what I can do. Even if it's to bring bottles in the first 50K.
If you're fully committed to your teammate, if you're not, then you probably go home for make up any reason. But if you're fully committed to the team and your teammate, you stay.
That's also the team who has allowed him to leave.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a quick ad break, and then George is going to tell a story that Johan and I do not know. So I'm quite excited to hear it. We'll be right back. Hey everybody, this episode is brought to you by Ketone IQ. If you listen to the show, you know Ketone IQ and what their products are all about. But if you're new, Ketone IQ, the classic shot, gives you high performance energy with 10 grams of ketones, and it's no sugar or caffeine. So it's good for you. And now they even have a Ketone IQ plus caffeine with 5 grams of ketone and 100 milligrams of caffeine from green tea. This is perfect for if you need a shot during a race even, and you want that energy with caffeine, that's a great option. But I could talk all day about Ketone IQ. But you know what we should talk about that's going to be even more compelling? Do you know who uses Ketone IQ? You know who uses their products? Well, Visma Lease a Bike and Simon Yates, who just won the Giro d'Italia, the race we're talking about on this very episode. And they have found that the product improves blood flow and gives them higher muscle oxygenation. Do you think that helped Simon Yates on the high altitude Finestre on Saturday on stage 20? I bet it did. And you know what? It helps them recover every day. I saw them. You could see them drinking these little bottles. If you know the product, you would recognize it. And I would bet that helped him recover just a little bit every day and helped him in that final weekend. So if this sounds like something you want to do, if you want to turn your local group ride into your own Giro d'Italia and be Simon Yates in your story, get Ketone IQ now. There's no sugar, no artificial ingredients, just pure ketones in a convenient bottle. Save 30% off your subscription order. Go to ketone.com/themove to get started on this. Again, ketone.com/themove. Okay, George, let's blitz us with this story. We have no idea.
So as I'm watching the race unfold on Saturday? Yeah, I've been all over the place the last 2 weeks, so my memory is fading. But I recalled a stage in 2007 Tour de France. We're in the Pyrenees. I make the breakaway, and I'm with a bunch of climbers. A super, super tough day. And the last climb of the day is the Col de Perisord. Perisord. Thank you.
I know the stage.
What was the climb before that? The Col d'Arreves or?
No. Perisord would it be Aspin? Col d'Aspin?
It wasn't Aspin. It was a really steep one that hadn't done small road. I remember. I don't forgot the name now, but so I was in a breakaway of, I don't know, 10, 15 guys, 2007. I believe I was national champion at the time. Anyway, that doesn't really matter for the story, but I'm in the breakaway feeling pretty good. We hit this 10K climb. I think it was 10% average. And guys like Vina Kurov, these big climber dudes, they start attacking. I get dropped. Okay. And we got like 50K to go on the stage. And, I'm not winning the stage. I have zero chance to win the stage. And my day's over. Like we're 2.5 weeks into the Tour de France. I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to chill up to Perisord. My day's over. I'm not going to win the stage. And I go up to the top of that climb. I start heading down the valley to the Perisord. I'm just chilling. I'm eating. I'm looking for water. I'm waving to the crowd. All of a sudden, Johan gets on the radio. George, at this point, I got 2.5 minutes, I think, on the field. George, I need you to get to the top of the Perisord before Contador catches you.
Is that my accent? Is that my accent?
Yeah, pretty much. And I said, what? You're telling me this now? Like, I'm 10K away in this valley. I've been in the breakaway all day. Now Johan is telling me I got the freaking sharks at 2.5 minutes behind me that I have to get to the top of the climb before Condor. So here we go. I had to buckle in and just basically go threshold for the next hour through the valley, hit the climb. I'm going full gas. I think at that point, Dirk's in my car, like behind me in the car, telling me the time gaps. And what happens? I make it. Contador catches me with 300 meters to go to the top. And then it's straight downhill. He had just dropped Cadel Evans by like 10, 15 seconds, straight downhill into, I forget the name of the town. I know Johan probably remember it. And then it's a 1K climb to the finish. So I see Contador coming. I sprint to the top of the KOM. He catches me. I go down this hill faster than I thought humanly possible. We put 25 seconds on Cadel. So we maybe put like another 35, 40 seconds total. And Contador wins the Tour de France by less than 30 seconds, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Correct.
So that was a fun day. And thank you, Johan, for pushing me to get to the top because I would have never done it otherwise. But I mean, those are tactics that you played for a long time. And I think we're still seeing them work out and right now and right in front of our eyes.
Yeah. I mean, Wout got a bit of a bigger gap than you, George.
I know.
But I do remember that we were nervous in the car because I knew that Alberto would attack. Like he attacked 3-4 times in the last 2 kilometers of the Perisurde. Yeah. And we were nervous. I said, if George doesn't make it, even if he catches him with 300 meters to go, you're not going to make it to the top.
I know.
And then
I kept looking back and I kept seeing the cars. I'm like, shit, I got it. And then I started to calculate. I'm like, I think I'm going to make it. But it was super, super tough day.
It's funny you mentioned that, George. I was thinking about that stage while watching on Saturday. Yeah. I was like, oh man, Van Aert's on George duty. He's got to make it to the top. I think his team probably briefed him a little bit further in advance than 10K from the base of the climb. I mean, one question I have for you guys is, maybe this doesn't make any sense, but a 9% 1 hour long climb, do attacks matter? Or like what if Del Toro, what if the plan was, don't respond to Carapaz. Going deep will not help you. Like I looked at Derek G, his power file, and he had one spike to 700 watts. But other than that, and that was probably to position, he never really went above. He averaged like 407 watts for the climb, and he was never really that much above that. It was almost equal because you're going to ride your threshold. Like you can't cheat an hour long. If you do the hour record, they're not like, okay, sprint in the middle, now rest. Like you're just riding what you can ride. What if these guys, Spencer, defied logics when it comes to climbing? Even Contador, a guy like Contador, I remember that day in particular, he told me he was watching the kilometer signs to tick down. In the last 5K, he said every time he saw the sign 200 to 300 meters before the sign, he was going to do a full gas sprint to that sign. And we saw it on TV. You can go back and watch that stage on TV. These climbers are guys like Carapaz and Del Toro and Contador at the time. They're unicorns. Not everybody can do it. They probably train it in training. But yeah, typically you want to just stay at threshold, not go over the red too much and do that steady pace. But
these pure climbers, they can do it somehow.
Yeah. I remember that he told me that too. He said, he took a point and he sprinted to that.
Yeah.
And then he looked for another point and he sprinted
full
again.
gas sprint. Yeah. Full gas sprint. Crazy.
It makes no sense, man.
No,
well, they can do it. They can do it.
Yeah,
they can do it.
Go to your local climb and try that. See how fast it takes you to blow up after 1 or 2 sprints.
They're proud. There is something in there though about what he's doing is like breaking a big task down into smaller components. And it probably actually is quite helpful mentally, but yeah, don't sprint in the middle of climbs and expect it to work out. But I mean, they maybe needed ISO, but I was just wondering, I was like, man, like, why isn't he just ignore Carapaz, just stay with your team, have McNulty ride the first 10K as hard as he can, have Micah then try to take over after. But maybe that's the beauty of the Finestre, that you can't rely on teammates. I mean, have we ever had like significant teammate help on this climb other than Kenny Alessandro leading people out? Yeah,
we have
Savidelli or
I was going to tell you something.
Yeah.
We're going down nostalgia lanes in this show.
So
today.
2005, Spencer, George, I told this story to Spencer already. 2005, this exact same stage. I don't know if it was I think it was the second last stage. Finestre and Sestriere, Savidelli's in the lead. We didn't have a strong team with Discovery Channel for the Giro, and Paolo gets dropped. We had no teammates, but we found some teammates on the road. Maurizio Ardila and Wim van Huffel from Lotto. They got a little Christmas gift on the road. And I think Paolo won. I mean, I don't remember the exact time, but it was like about 25, 30 seconds. He lost virtually the lead on the Finestre. It was there was Rujano, Simoni, and I think maybe Di Luca. I don't remember if it was Di Luca, but there was three climbers in front, and Paolo had virtually lost the jersey on the Finestre, and of course he doesn't need any help in the downhill.
Yeah.
And then the hell of a climb on Sestriere, but on Colle de Finestre we had some freelance teammates all of a sudden.
That's good.
And I almost feel like this stage 20, it's like a TV show we watched and we're like, well, what about this plot hole? What about this plot hole? Like it's mind bending the more you think about it. But Johan, I'm just thinking about your Carapaz theory. When they get over the Finestre, Del Toro probably was not as generous as he should have been on the Finestre. They get over, Del Toro's on the front. He asks Carapaz to pull through. Carapaz declines. But at that point, they're only about a minute and a half behind Yates. And if Carapaz was it really over at that point? Because
it was over. Spencer, I think the moment I said the big mistake was to let this group with Van Aert take 10 minutes. Even if they crashed with a minute, knowing that Van Aert is there, they had no more chance. Because let's just assume that let's say it's Wout and Yates versus Del Toro and Carapaz. If Del Toro and Carapaz go full gas in the downhill and in the valley, Yates is not going to do nothing. He was sitting behind the truck. It was over. With 1 minute was too much. They were never going to make it back.
I mean, a lot of people were sort of criticizing Van Aert in the beginning of the year. I mean, to me, he's the VIP rider of the season so far. I mean, even though he hasn't won as many races as he'd like to, but what he's done in terms of leading out sprinters, being the most pivotal guy for a guy like Simon Yates, top 3, top 4 in all the biggest classics in the spring. I mean, what a season he's having.
And let's not forget Spencer and George. This is just, I mean, imagine with this base form now, if he stays healthy between now and the Tour is not going to be funny for a lot of people with Wout van Aert on Tour form.
Yeah.
He's getting back to being, I mean, he was a great, I mean, he won a great stage, did some incredible things. I mean, the way he can help a team on all different terrains is just insane.
Yeah.
So hopefully he can stay healthy and we'll see. I mean, I would love, of course, Visma wants Van Aert. to be at his top, and they want to try to win the Tour. But I would love to see Van Aert have more opportunities for himself. You know, it's a guy who deserves really to win more races.
Well, I agree.
I was putting my 5-year-old son to bed last night. He goes, I still can't believe Wout won that stage. Still thinking about stage 9, but outside of winning that, and Wiesmann needed this. Think about it. So the 2023 Vuelta, they go 1, 2, 3, they sweep the Grand Tours, almost though like they angered the gods, the cycling gods, with the way they handled that. And then it's tough times, you know, from then on. Like they obviously get second with Jonas, but that was more like Jonas's just like personal excellence. Like as a team, it's been a little clunky. They come into this race.
They got a lot of bad luck, Spencer. They got a lot of bad luck, a lot of crashes, lots of injuries.
I mean, they like half their team is like taken out long-term with kind of odd illnesses and crashes. They come into this Vuelta or this Giro without not a lot of fanfare. I think George saying he liked Simon Yates the last rest day was like maybe the only person in the media who picked Simon Yates. Mm-hmm. And then they win this against a stacked UAE team. Really incredible. But if you go back and look, obviously Simon Yates, we should say amazing. I think Johan, I don't think I said this, but on the Finestre, I calculated his effort at 6.2 watts per kilo for an hour at altitude, which is really impressive. Like just to compare that, Pogacar, I have Pogacar stage 20 last year, Monte Grappa, which is shorter, 45 minutes at about 6.4 watts per kilo, lower altitude and shorter. So 6.2 for Yates is super impressive. Yeah. So Yates, excellent. Also great time trials. That's not going to be remembered about this race, that he was really good in that stage 10 time trial, put time into almost everyone except Derek G in the GC. Also didn't crash, I believe. I believe he's the only one of the top GC guys not to go down, or at least I didn't see him go down. But Van Aert, so he wins stage 9. He's sick before that, almost wins stage 1. And then he leads them out to win stage 12 in the sprint. And then he wins them, helps them win the GC, and then he wins them the final stage with that lead out of Olaf Koy. So yeah, pretty good Giro d'Italia for a down Giro, but pretty good for Wout van Aert.
As good as it gets.
Well, should we take one more ad break and then we'll do like odds and ends, other things that aren't the GC from this Giro d'Italia?
Sure.
All right, we'll be right back. Everybody, this episode is brought to you by Ridge Wallet. This Father's Day, give your dad the upgrade his pocket in his back. Well, thank you for a brand new Ridge Wallet. I've got to admit, I was a big wallet guy. I had the George Costanza fat wallet for years. I went to a wedding recently, had to fly. I was sitting on the plane thinking, I'm dying. My back is killing me. What is going on? Oh, wait, it's the brick I have in my back pocket. I've got to make a change. I need to. This is not sustainable. Well, I went out and I was shopping for low profile wallets. And what did I find? Ridge Wallet. They're sleek, minimalistic powerhouse, holds up to 12 cards in cash without adding an ounce of unnecessary bulk. It's crafted from seriously premium materials and metals like carbon fiber, titanium, and stainless steel. If you're living that carbon life, you got the carbon bike, the carbon handlebars, the carbon cranks, you might as well have a carbon wallet. And this isn't some flimsy gadget. It's built to endure whatever dads throw its way. It even comes with a lifetime warranty, the last wallet he'll ever need. And you know what dads don't like? They don't like to be scammed. And with Ridge Wallet, they have integrated RFID blocking technology, which means if you're a dad like myself and if you're taking the tube around, you don't want anyone going up to your back pocket, boom, cloning your cards. And with Ridge Wallet, you don't have to worry about it because their blocking technology, RFID blocking technology, stops that from happening. Tell your dad about that, and he's going to run out and buy a Ridge because it's all he's going to think about, someone stealing his credit card number. For a limited time, Ridge is having a crazy sale. Get up to 40% off your order by going to ridge.com/themove. Again, do not let this Father's Day deal pass. Ridge.com/themove to get 40% off your dad, the perfect gift for Father's Day. And when you check out, they'll ask you where you heard from them. Please support the show by saying you heard them from us at The Move. All right, let's get back to George and Johan talking about the Giro. Okay, so Simon Yates, Johan, I want to get your take on this, actually. I'm stealing this from Daniel Freebe, just to give him credit. But so Yates doesn't crash, or at least we didn't see him crash. think the only GC contender not to, wins the race. Like, are we going to see, and I don't even know what this would look like. Like, is this the next frontier in advanced analytics? Like, hey, actually not crashing is super, super important, and we should do everything we can not to do it, and like see different strategies of riding and placing. Like, is this luck, or did like Wiesma come in with the plan not to have him crash?
No, you can't plan this. I don't think so, George. I don't know what you think, but listen.
Well, how many times did Lance crash in those 7 years?
Not many times.
Once or twice max.
Yeah, but it's also, you need an extremely strong team to do that. You need a team that basically can ride next to the peloton at any time.
Yeah.
And I personally think, George, not to diminish, your era, but the level of this peloton is so high that it's impossible to be so dominant, to be really around your leader and never be disturbed by anything or anybody. That's just not possible anymore.
No, it's not. And you see it in the lead out trains as well. Like in Tour de France, you have, back in the day, it was one dominant team, that could do it. Now there's 5 or 6 teams that are doing it. And it's just, you got to find the right wave, which team is going to go. But it's the level is a lot higher.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. Transitions perfectly. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but the lead outs here would be like sprint lead outs, like 65 an hour cruising speed before they get into the sprint. That's like 40 miles an hour. I don't believe a single bunch sprint was won by a rider that did not launch first. And so it's just, if I was a team or a rider looking at that, it does seem like, I wonder if it's the super, super high speed that's just making it harder to come around people, because it was almost every stage, the rider with the cleanest lead out and went first, no one could come around them, which kind of makes sense, because how are you going to sprint it? I mean, how fast could you even possibly sprint? Could you go over 50 miles an hour in a flat sprint?
Yeah. But, I think also one thing to have in mind, Spencer, is that, with all the respect due for the riders of the Giro and the sprinters, the really top sprinters of the world were not here, right? The pure sprinters, those are the guys that can gain positions, right? When they come out of a wheel in the last 50 meters, sometimes even, look at Cavendish sometimes came out of nowhere. But it's true in this Giro. I think you're right. Everybody who launched first won. And we saw some riders coming from behind with higher speeds, but they just didn't make it. Caden Groves, for example, a few times had an incredible speed, but was not good enough to win the stage.
Well, here's a super interesting thing. You'd think with that logic, you'd say, okay, so the team that's fully focused on the sprints will win, right? Like Alpecin or Picnic. But actually, that's not what, like, if you think of yesterday's stage in Rome, and once Van Aert got healthy, it's like, well, you can have all the riders you want, but if a superstar at the level of Van Aert, like George was saying about his power to get in the breakaway, wants to be at the front and wants to lead out his rider, it's possible that no one could even, like, what lead out train can even challenge that?
No.
So
if you look at the last stage, Spencer, Affini and Van Aert, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Affini has this crazy ability to ride like the from 700 to 400 meters to go, like so fast. There was not even a fight. There was not even a fight for position. Colle was just sitting there, didn't move, and just launched whenever he decided to.
Those are two of the biggest engines in the sport, probably.
Yeah.
If you noticed too, it was kind of uphill, and Van Aert's sprinting as hard as he can. So it's like, you can't move up. Where you are is where you are, probably, if that's happening. But the sprint tally, Olav Koy 2 wins, Caden Groves 1, Casper Van Houten 1. So not a sprint heavy race, you'd say, but Olav Koy 23. We should also say Casper Van Houten also 23. Really good Dutch sprinter. Olav Koy 23, 2 Giro wins in this Giro, I believe 3 total in his career. That's quite a lot. And he almost has 50 total wins, I think, as a 23-year-old, which is crazy. Leaving Wiesma, correct, Johan?
Yeah, Decathlon.
And so I guess is that a good move? He needs to go to the Tour, and he thinks
it's going to be a really good move for his bank account.
Yeah,
for sure.
All the decathlon he can buy.
I mean, listen, it's Decathlon is they've improved a lot. They come from far, and the whole system has changed there. It's a different organization. They're doing things right. It's, I think, the best French team by far. And hey, money talks. It was. I know the offer. It was a great offer. Nobody else would pay that amount of money. And yeah, I mean, if you look at it, first you could say, well, it's too much money. But then if you think, I mean, the 23-year-old, and he has so many wins already. I didn't know it was 50. I thought it was more like 40. But anyway, 40 or 50 doesn't really matter. If you're 23 years old and you've won 40 races in the professionals, that's like unbelievable. So, and he's going to win a lot more.
So he's 41 now. Could be 50 by the end of the year. What's the number? Can you say?
3 million.
Wow. Is a lot of money.
Yeah.
Is that euros? I
3 million euros. So for sure, I think it's going to be 3 years. So it's 9 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does feel like an overpay. But if you think about decathlon, and this is another thing to watch as we advance. Decathlon feels safe points wise, but teams that probably didn't think they'd be in the points battle are now in the points battle, and like nothing can get you out of a points jam like a sprinter. Even if they're not winning, they're just finishing top 5 consistently. That could be worth the 3 million euros if he ends up keeping them like healthily in the promotion zone.
Yeah, I think at this point Decathlon doesn't have to worry about relegation. They're safely in the middle, top, even in the top, I would say.
Yeah.
And I mean, you never know. You never know what, like, look at who would have thought Cofidis, Johan, would be relegated.
I saw it as a real possibility.
I'm kidding. Cofid, a team like that. Other things we should mention: Mads Pedersen, a Lidl-Trek, fantastic. Giro, would they win like almost half these stages?
Six stages.
Yeah, 6 stages. And held the jersey through the first couple stages. Like really, really impressive. Like, what do you think is Pedersen? I can't imagine he was thrilled when he heard he wasn't going to the Tour, but do you think he's happy now that he came to the Giro?
George?
I mean, yeah, like I think he's happy. He's had an incredible spring. Giro could not have gone any better. A guy like that's done every race you can possibly imagine doing, and why not take a little break in the summer?
Yeah. And another thing I want to mention, Spencer, we were talking about Wout van Aert a lot. A few weeks ago, I said, and I have to say, I was wrong. I said, the participation of Wout van Aert in the Giro doesn't make any sense to me. It's for a big check and nothing else. I think I have to swallow those words. It was a great Giro for him. Probably also for a big check. Not gonna deny that. But he definitely used the Giro to be back to the Wout van Aert we all want to see, and I think that's great.
Yeah, he's cooking at the right time going into the Tour. Like, he's a different rider than when he went in. Amazing to think he almost won the first stage, knowing how sick he is in retrospect. Yep. And I mean, what were your guys' thoughts on the course in general? Like, I know that the Giro is married to this idea that they go south to north almost every time. I think, Johan, remember in 2009, I think they went north to south and you guys finished in Rome with the time trial.
We did finish in Rome. Yeah.
But like, is it time to shake this up? It just felt like for a large portion of the race, we were just waiting for the third week, which is becoming very common at the Giro. And it's like this, the race doesn't fall into like a full malaise because there's a GC anxiety, but it just makes it feel a little disjointed. I feel like, I don't know if there's a solution to that that's not cutting up and down Italy though.
I think the course provided great action, suspense to the very end. And that's what the fans want to watch. So I don't really see a need for a change.
I think it's also what the fans remember. You know, we will all remember
That's true.
stage 20. You know, nobody remembers Albania. I think everything concentrated in the last week, it brings a lot of suspense. I mean, we couldn't have asked for anything better, you know, until 45 minutes from the finish, we didn't know who was going to win the Giro on stage 20, which was amazing.
That's a very good point. Yeah, that is what we'll remember. We won't remember anything else. I mean, think about this. The year Froome won, 2018, that started in Israel. Like, who even remembers that part of the race? I think Froome did crash in Jerusalem, but it's really odd how your memory works with that. So looking to the future, our last topic, couple things. We have Simon Yates winning. Oddly, this is kind of an odd thing. If you think about, I think I said the first rest day, the rider that will win this will have won a Grand Tour before. And you go back, it's almost every Grand Tour now is won by riders who have already won Grand Tours. The exceptions are Sepp Kuss, Jai Hindley, Theo Gegenhardt. That's like in the last 12 or 16 Grand Tours. So we're like getting just the same riders winning. I didn't expect it to be Simon Yates. That was surprising to me. But Primož Roglič crashes, 35 years old, leaves the race. Of course, that means he's going to come out and win the Vuelta a España in classic Primož fashion. Juan Ayuso, young rider, leaves the race. Derek G does really well, finishes fourth. Like, let's just break these down each. Like, where is Red Bull and Primož Roglič coming out of this race? Like, is Red Bull looking to the next generation of GC riders, or are they sticking with Roglič?
You can't stick. I mean, listen, Primož is a great rider, right? I mean, I don't know how many years he's going to continue racing, but this was another one of those races where Primož had a lot of bad luck. I think 4 crashes, right, in total, until he abandoned. On the other hand, you know, it's too many crashes. You know, this is not a coincidence anymore, right? It is definitely a problem. But in terms of his team, they need a plan. You know, they need to look for the future. Primož is at his maximum. He's not going to improve, right? If he stays the way at his level, he can win other big races still. I'm not even sure if he's going to go to the Vuelta, Spencer. I think he will race the Tour. Eh?
I agree.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
If he does,
and he could potentially have a great build up to the Tour. I mean, when he gets past his injuries, built a really solid foundation in the Giro, and you could take advantage of that in a race like the Tour de France if you're staying healthy.
Yeah, no. For Red Bull, it was definitely not a good Giro. It was bad Giro. I mean, they got the stage with Nico Denz, but that's not what they came from. For, you know, I mean, I was joking today with someone. I said, you know, the biggest publicity that the Red Bull had in the Giro was that Formula One car with the Specialized bike on top.
Yeah, that was cool.
Spinning around in Rome, you know.
Yeah.
That was their biggest publicity. So definitely they need to go back to the drawing table and figure something out, because I don't know. Primož, obviously bad luck. Dani Martinez was way below his level. They lost Jay Hindley early, so you know it all went wrong for them, right? But they need to get themselves back together and do something differently.
it is impressive they won a stage. Nico Denz, that's not what you're counting on him for. And he bailed him out there. They did finish sixth with a 21-year-old Giulio Pellizzari. Is he a fully polished GC prospect? No. I mean, do they have to go to the transfer market, Johan? Like to pick up the post Primos?
Who's there? I mean, if you look, I mean,
I would think this takes us to our second guy. And I know you're going to say he's in a contract, but contracts don't mean anything anymore. Juan Ayuso. I mean, where does Juan Ayuso fit in on the?
No, not in Red Bull.
And they have a really high buyout clause.
Well, yeah, George, we discussed this already. I would want to see these buyout clauses, how they would hold up in a normal court of law, not in a sports court, but if you go to a normal court, I think that's illegal.
Yeah.
But I cannot see Juan Ayuso end up in Red Bull. I could see him end up in Movistar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
They would have
Movistar,
to dip into their piggy bank for that.
Yeah, that would be.
In the budget.
Yeah, but George, Movistar is in a great situation. They just renewed till 2029, and they got a foreign investor with a lot of money. I think I don't know if it's an Israeli Qatari fund or something. So yeah. Eusebio Unzue, I don't know the nationality, but Unzue sold a big part of the company to a foreign investor. So they can have the money if they want to.
The infrastructure is not. It takes a special person, I feel like, to thrive at because it's more laissez-faire, free flowing. You're not as controlled.
Mm-hmm.
Also, and money.
And well, money, but also, I mean, like Visa
and mentality, money and mentality.
They're building kitchens.
But I think the playbook there's so many transfers that have gone on over the years. The playbook starts to become more and more easy to follow. Of course, it's always evolving, but these teams, when they bring in capital, we're seeing it now with Lidl-Trek, they get a lot better.
Yeah, I think Spencer, we're going to see a surprising transfer for next year.
Oh, he knows something.
That's all I'm going to say.
If Tade to Ineos, lock it in. It's happening. but here's my next one. Derek G, fourth in this Giro. Amazing. Even more impressive when you consider, I believe he was the only of the top four that lost time on stage 9 because Carapaz Carapaz and Yates
on stage one.
On stage 1. Yeah, not a great way to start the race.
Yeah.
Had a bad first 10 days, first 9 days. Gets fourth, big talent, kind of an unpolished gem. Like, is that someone Red Bull could be looking at?
Yeah, I mean, it's but it's not Derek G is discovering himself as a stage racer, but he's not one of the big names that you can really build a whole team. I mean, there's not that many. There's Tadej, there's Jonas. Ayuso's a talent. Del Toro, we'll see now. I mean, this is obviously a great talent who's going to make it in the Grand Tours.
Remco's pretty good.
There's Primoz and there's Remco. Who else is there? There's nobody else.
Well, we wouldn't have said Simon Yates. I mean, it shows you there is value sitting out there, like in unobvious Grand Tour winners waiting to be like.
Well, Spencer, we already said it, but George, you remember in the trades and transfers? When we said, what's the biggest transfer of the year? I said, Simon Yates is the biggest transfer of the year.
Oh, yeah. We need to pull that one up.
And before we go, so Simon Yates wins this. He's going to the Tour.
Yeah.
Isaac Del Toro will not be at the Tour. Richard Carapaz will be at the Tour.
Mm-hmm.
How will they have I guess where does Carapaz go from here? He's in a contract year, so he's probably going to change teams maybe next year, stay at the same team. And then do either of these guys make an impact to the Tour as leaders?
George.
I mean, back in the day, I say it's really hard for these guys to recover from the Tour, but I mean, Pogačar and all these guys are rewriting the playbook and they recover. And not only do they recover, they win. Carapaz is an experienced rider. I think he'll know what to do in between now and the Tour, and not overdo it, not undo it. But I'd imagine he shows up ready. But once you throw in Jonas and Pogačar, I mean, we're talking about another level of GC riders, and I don't know if he can quite beat those guys. He probably can't, but he can certainly have a chance for the podium.
Yeah, I think Simon Yates is clear. He's in a domestique role for sure, 100% for the Tour. Carapaz. I think Carapaz has set his mind on the Giro. I mean, he knows he's smart. He knows where he has his chances. He knows Jonas is not here. Tadej is not here. Remco's not here. I want to go for this. I'm going to say that Carapaz goes to the Tour with another mindset as for stage wins and the polka dot jersey, probably.
Where is he next year?
I think he's going to be on EF. Again,
the only thing I remember Vaughters and the Netflix show was like, we're paying him we can't afford this guy. Basically, where he was like, it's the most expensive rider we've ever had. So it didn't strike me as like we're excited to do this again. But I guess maybe if they're happy with third place,
he did a great Giro. I mean, he did a great Giro for them. I mean, you can't winning a Grand Tour is very difficult, very difficult.
Well, he could have, yeah, it is. I mean, he could have won this one and he didn't. but like, how many Grand Tours could you win? Like, could you even be in that position? It's very difficult to do.
Not that many.
Well, if they want to get a rider that could be guaranteed to be in position, you got to pay him $5 million. Mm-hmm. So I think they're in a good position right now with having him on the team.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. Anything else about this Giro before we move on, literally and then figuratively? We will eject this from our brains, and then we'll be fully focused on the Tour in a week's time, probably.
Yep. Okay, Spencer. Thanks, George, for joining.
Yep. Ciao, ciao.
Bye, guys.